Hello and welcome to this video where we talk about the best e-commerce platforms from an SEO and user experience perspective. More and more in 2024, search engine optimization and user experience have become synonymous because Google has revealed in their algorithm leak that basically the user experience has a massive impact on search rankings, which is no surprise. Google has told us for a long time that we should just focus on creating good websites for users. And through the algorithm leak, we've learned that a lot of the user signals, such as how long somebody stays on the site, has a massive impact. So let's investigate which e-commerce platforms are the most popular and ranking towards the top. And then we'll also check what user experience each of those sites has, and we'll see if there's a correlation between it. For really the only platforms that I would recommend considering is either Shopify or WooCommerce. The other ones, I've had bad experiences with Squarespace and Wix. Both are very locked down and limited in terms of what you can do from a code base because they are completely hosted with that platform, Squarespace and Wix, and I would not recommend either of them. Wix I found to be very slow and bloated, and Squarespace just too limited. So ECWID, I've never heard about them, but I wouldn't give them a shot either. If you are into customization, to put it simply, I would go with WooCommerce. If you're happy to hire a developer, make the site your own, then WooCommerce is a great option for you. If you want something a bit more stock standard, then you can go with Shopify. And mainly if you have, I would say, over maybe 2,000 products and tons of variations, maybe Shopify is the better solution there. Also a little bit depending on how many visitors you're actually getting. If you're getting a huge amount of visitors, we're talking in the millions per month, then Shopify may be the better option because they take care of all of the hosting, whereas WordPress, you have to host the website yourself. So WooCommerce is a sub variation of WordPress essentially. But let's jump in to see what we can find here in the search results. We have searched here in the US for outdoor furniture and open up the biggest sites that have come up, which are not your standard retailers. So we're not looking at Lowe's or no Home Depot, no Wayfair. So we're just looking at the sites that have basically worked their way up, started a business, open up a website, and we're trying to learn from their success here. So these guys, Patio Productions, are ranking pretty well for outdoor furniture. We're looking to now see here through this extension called Webalizer. You can install this for free, what platform they are using. To my shock, they are using Magento, one of the most terrible platforms that anybody can choose. So let's see what they could improve here on their site. Overall, straight scrolling through, I'm noticing that they have no fixed header bar. That's a bad user experience because once I scroll down, now I need to come all the way back up to actually use the header menu. And the same goes for this sidebar filter. I believe once we scroll through that doesn't stay at the top. So let's say I notice now, I didn't find what I wanted. I need to now scroll all the way back to the top, select something up here, scroll all the way back down. Let's say I didn't find what I want, I need to scroll back up again. So you can see the user experience is quite hampered by that. Best practice is something like IKEA, let's say chairs. So we should get a category on IKEA. IKEA does this really well with their menus at the top. So we can see here the filters now are sticky at the top of my screen in this area over here. And even as I scroll down, I can change the filters. Say I only want brown chairs. Cool. Then I now want stuff made from a material, let's say fabric. And now we've provided the user with a really easy way to find their perfect fabric chair. Now it is interesting when you hover over these here, it does change the color, but basically because on hover it changes, they're really limiting themselves to just showing two different colors. What if I wanted a red cushion, for example? That could only be shown through a color swatch, which then should be somewhere down here. Color swatches are inherently hard to click on mobile phones because once you have 8 of these next to each other, imagining that on a mobile phone screen, which is small, gets very hard to click. So overall, I'd give this site a 5 out of 10 for user experience. I think the menu is very cluttered. Putting that towards the top is better. I do like having 4 products next to each other. That's usually a good choice. Moving on here to Grandin Road. So here these guys seem to be using HCL Commerce. Seems to be an enterprise e-commerce system. They had a domain rating of about 60 or 70, so they're kind of middle of the road. Seems to be a relatively large brand, but not as big, obviously, as some of your Home Depots out there. Now, I immediately noticed that their filters are really easy to overlook because it's like white on white, doesn't catch my eye, so I might scroll past this, and because they're not fixing their filters at the top, I might completely miss that there's actually an option to filter here. Plus they have a lot of different things in their general outdoor category, so really different to find what I'm looking for here without the filters in place. I do like that they have the rest of their header actually fixed, so that's a good thing. We're not judging here things like product images because we're just looking at the general user experience that the platform would provide. The reviews over here are definitely a good touch. That is much appreciated. I think what is problematic here is that the images are so wide. I would probably prefer still a 4x4 format where we have 4 side by side for products. And then the images here, we can see there's not much space at all between each image. And so I think that overloads the user a bit because they appear really large on my screen. It makes it almost harder to choose what I want because I'm just seeing these massive images. Putting them into smaller boxes would definitely be helpful, and having 4 next to each other as well. Plus the filters we've already talked about, that should be more clearly visible, similar to how IKEA does that towards the top. Once I scroll down, it's pretty hard to miss these filters here on the IKEA side. All right, that was HCL Commerce. So out of the box, I think these guys still have a bit of work to do. Some of these things could be fixed most likely relatively easily with CSS. Moving on to our first Shopify contender. So this is a Shopify site called House. Very minimalistic style for their category page and probably whole website. I do like here that we don't have anything on the left and right. So it allows the user to really focus on the products. I think that's an important thing for user experience, that there's not too much clutter on the left and right hand side of your products. So that's probably why IKEA has chosen this format as well. The filters, because there is less clutter, it's also easier to see that there are actually filters available because overall there's less text. Users can focus on the products. Let's see overall how many products they have here. So they've got this function to auto load more products. That's actually quite helpful. Did they have this as well here? I guess they've got pagination. So I would say Shopify also wins here because it looks to have automatic sort of load more products function, even though at the end there's also a page 2, but it's still loaded significantly more products than the other side. Because the spacing is a bit better here between the images and there's also more space on the right and left side, I don't mind that the products are really big. However, probably still would recommend to go to a 4x4 layout for this one as well. And then making filters fixed towards the top of the screen would also be helpful. Another helpful thing could be breadcrumbs. So if you have, let's say we're in the outdoor chairs right now, maybe we want outdoor furniture here in breadcrumbs and then outdoor chairs after that, so that the user can navigate to like the higher level category as well. So this Shopify category page, I would give it a 6.5 out of 10. Still quite a lot of improvements that they can make. They do have a color swatch here, which I guess maybe we give that a 7. The color switching function, if that would work, would be nice. Yeah, seems like it's working 50% of the time. So 7 out of 10 here for Shopify. Nice and clean look. Now let's switch gears a bit and head over to some of the bigger players here in the diamond space. So this is diamond engagement rings. Blue Nile is a really big player here. So let's check out one of their most selling category, engagement rings. And I'm guessing the solitaire is going to be a very popular shape. So they have that under engagement rings, styles, and solitaire. And we do see here that they do have the breadcrumbs towards the top. So that's what I mentioned previously. That's a good touch. So I can go back to the main engagement rings category if I want to. Now let's see, how would I choose here as a user? I guess some people, most of us would have to choose by budget, right? Most people's budget is not unlimited. So how could I do that here? It looks like for the moment, what they're trying to do here is just funnel me into one style. And then after that, I can choose the size, I guess. Size of the diamond. So these guys are using the platform constructor, something that I have not used personally myself. But yeah, we can see the user experience here is not fantastic. There's no filter function at all. So if I wanted something, let's say exactly at $1,000, I wouldn't really be able to do that unless I check each product manually. Okay, now that we're on the diamonds page, it looks like they're using a different user experience over here. I quite like this. This is actually smart and something that a lot of e-commerce stores should at least consider, which is to immediately open up the filters instead of sort of hiding them away. Usually this whole filter section is just a very small part of the site, like a tiny area here. But in particular for your very broad category, so let's say outdoor furniture, right? We have no idea whether the person wants to buy like a 8 table and chair set or they want an outdoor furniture couch. We really don't know what they want. So just showing them a random selection of our products and then hoping that they use our filter seems like a bad idea. So why don't we actually kind of force the user to first say, hey, step one is filling out here in the filters exactly what you want. And these could certainly be made less confusing. So right now, I feel like the UX, yes, it's very minimalistic, but it could have been still made in a slightly easier way. It could also be working in a step-by-step way, where you're first asking the user question 1, is this, what shape do you want? Then you're only showing the price. Clarity, most people probably have no idea. You would need education on that. And it's good that they're providing that. So very good user experience on that. But yeah, basically as an idea, why don't we, for broad category pages, make the user go through a couple of quick steps. This would take 2 to 3 seconds to say, hey, I want a round ring. I want it at $1,000 to, I wish 5 million was an option, but let's say 3,000. And let's say this is the carrots that I want, and now get a list of filters. Looks like my carrots have now messed up the results. But yeah, pretty good filtering options here. I think we can all learn from this experience, custom images into their filters, which makes it look really nice. So I would say almost full stars here on the filters. If they could simplify that a bit further, then it would be perfect. Now they're using the 4x4 layout, no left or right distractions. I would say too much empty space inside of their images here. We can see that that's just a lot of wasted space, and then images also really close to each other. So I would like to see a little bit more spacing if possible, making the product itself slightly smaller, because once people click into the product, they can still see it large enough. So, but I get what they're doing here, that you can hover over it and then see the diamond. So pretty good user experience. Reviews would be an extra benefit. And I think that wraps it up for this site. They're also displaying their Google reviews on the bottom left. That's decent. The filters, they go away once you scroll down, so they're not fixed. I don't like that. It would be handy to have a way, at least like a button at the top, to be able to expand the filters again. Total probably a 7.5 to 8 out of 10. So we're getting increasingly better here. Hopping over to James Allen, I think that's a fairly big retailer. So straight away from their menu, we can tell that they actually have quite a nice section here where it follows the user experience, right? If you are looking to get an engagement ring, then they tell you, hey, you can either start with a setting or with a diamond. So people will have different preferences. And we'll start with a diamond here. Before we dive further into James Allen's e-commerce experience here, let's have a look at what the best hosting platform is. So if you are looking to use WordPress and WooCommerce for your e-commerce website, then I highly recommend that you go with Cloudways. So with prices starting at $11 per month, Cloudways is a fantastic way to host your e-commerce website. I've got over 70 websites hosted with Cloudways. I regularly recommend Cloudways to friends who are looking to switch, and every single one of them has been absolutely delighted so far. Now, the server that I would recommend for you if you are starting with an e-commerce site, I would recommend that you go for the premium setup and you get started on the 2 GB plan. So you would be looking at the $28 per month option if you're going here with DigitalOcean as your platform. That should be sufficient to get you started with an e-commerce website. And then it just depends on how many products you have and how many visitors you have. If you have around 40 to 50,000 visitors per month, you'd be looking probably at the $99 per month option, which for e-commerce site hosting, that is still a very good price. Given the same performance and capacity with other providers, you'll be paying around $400 to $500 per month. So very affordable way to get started with your e-commerce journey. You can also pick your data center here. So depending on where you are, you want to make sure you choose a data center closest to your clients, so where your customers are searching from. That will reduce the latency of your e-commerce website, which is so important because in e-commerce people visit about, I want to say 5 to 7 pages. So right now we have looked at the collection page, also called category page. Then people usually go to the product page. Once they found the product they want, they add it to the cart. But sometimes they go back to check out other product pages. So let's say this is product 2 that somebody checks out. Then they go to the cart page to check out what's in their cart, maybe calculate shipping there. Then they go to the checkout page, and there might be another final payment page. And then there might be a thank you page as well. So we have here 3, 6, 7 different pages that users visit. And so if your site is slow, then users need to basically 7 times load a very slow site, which at some point just becomes annoying and they will probably leave your website. So that's why fast web hosting is so important when it comes to e-commerce sites. Other reasons why I recommend them is the Cloudflare CDN integration. That means that your users can get the data loaded from a server that's closest to them. That is what a content delivery network or CDN allows them to achieve. The security is also very good on Cloudways, where they have automatic detection when any security issues occur. And then for me, the most important part is just the loading speed, because even in Google Search Console, it will alert you if your website is loading too slowly. And then you need to launch a fix basically on yourself and then tell Google about the fix once that is done. And we very rarely have to do that on Shopify or Cloudways website because they are usually very solid. Now, hopping into the backend here of Cloudways, I want to show you a couple of things that you can use for your e-commerce site. So the vulnerability scanner will work wonders to find any issues with outdated plugins that could now be a security risk. So this here is just a testing site, so I don't have any security risks yet here, but once you have your site installed, you can click refresh under the scanner and then find any security issues. Bot protection will protect you from any bots that come to your site that may be harmful or take up a lot of your bandwidth. Oftentimes, the whole server capacity could be taken up just by different bots crawling your website. This could be someone else using Screaming Frog, trying to crawl your whole site, other bots just trying to extract your product information. So that is something you want to be mindful of, and you make sure that the bot protection is turned on. Then to get you started here real quick, once you have purchased the website, you want to click here to add domain. Then you can call this myshop.com, for example. Click Save Changes, and then you make that a primary domain, which will then mean that your website is live and can be accessed after you've added the SSL certificate. So over here, you would then put myshop.com, and any email address we will just do fine here, and then install the certificate. In this step, just make sure that you're adding the www if needed. For example, if your website previously was www.myshop.com, you want to make sure that now you're also using www. So that's a very important step, because otherwise Google will find a ton of redirects. Let me show you here what I mean. The way you check is you look for your website and you check if it has a www in front. For this website it does have, and for that one it does. So if these guys would do website hosting changes, they need to make sure to add their website again with www in front, because Google sees these as separate versions and would otherwise see redirects. Whereas this other website is not using www. We can see that these guys are just using HTTPS and then their domain starts. So for those guys, they should not add www. One last quick tip here before we get back to our e-commerce website user experience. Head over here to application settings and then PHP. And make sure that you're setting the memory limit to something like 500, if not even 1,500 if you're a large e-commerce website. That will mean that your website now has a lot more memory available, and you can check inside of WordPress as well how much memory you have there to make sure that your site can use all of the resources that your server can offer. All right, I will leave the links in the description below so that you can get started with Cloudways. Now back to our user experience. So we can see here James Allen, really cool example of how they've basically copied that user experience that Blue Nile has, but made it better. So the problem that I mentioned with Blue Nile, just too many different filters. We have here essentially, by the looks of it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different filters. None of them have any kind of border around them. Just really hard to see what all the things are that I need to do. Whereas this one is kind of a condensed, easier user experience. Still 6 filters, but now it's just a bit more streamlined. So really liking what they've done here with the filters. As I scroll down, unfortunately, still no fixed filters and no way to get back to them. Product images, also exact copy of the other side, so we won't talk about that. And these guys are using Emotion. This may be a complete custom programmed website. Don't seem like I can find a specific platform here. I think Emotion is a JavaScript framework, but I could be wrong about that. Then it looks like they have coded this in the programming language of React as well. Okay, we'll do one more website breakdown of the user experience here. Something interesting, because it's now a WordPress website. So WordPress usually means more customization, a lot easier to make changes, not as locked down as Shopify or Wix or any of these other platforms, because in WordPress you have access to your server because you own the server, you have purchased it from a website like Cloudways. So you own your whole infrastructure, your server, your code files, you get access to everything, which means you can do things such as access the URL requests that are made to your site, which is really difficult in Shopify, because Shopify basically owns the server and they don't show you all of the information and don't give developers access to all that stuff. Whereas WordPress, you do have access to the whole range of information. So same experience here. We can start with a diamond and we will compare that to the other websites. So after a round diamond for, let's say, $8,000, our budget has increased all of a sudden. And we can see this is quite nice in terms of the experience. I think the thicker bars here and the colors make it stand out a bit more. Okay, and they went for a table format. Look, I'm not a fan of that. I think they would do better and have better results. I realize you can hover over this somehow, over the view, and then it shows you the different icons. But I think they would have better results with showing the products. I get what they are trying to do with diamonds, because they're basically saying, hey, it's pretty hard to distinguish here between the different types of diamonds just by looking at them. So they're like, how about we just compare that in a table format? I get that, but it just feels more like a B2B experience, like a business purchasing experience. Whereas an engagement ring is an emotional experience where I don't really want to be looking through like a spreadsheet essentially. And I think they would do better with this user experience. So that's something where we would need to rate them down a little bit. Okay, this is an interesting page here. This is for high-end natural diamond ring specials, and a couple of mistakes that they've made here on the user experience. So they have duplicated the heading essentially twice. They've put it one time as an image, so this is just an image, not HTML, and then they've written it in HTML. And so that's a waste of space because you're wasting this whole area up here just to repeat the same thing in HTML. They should just make HTML into this area, basically offering more space, because you can see on my screen, the one thing that the user wants to do to shop the product is not possible right now because they have managed to waste so much space that I can't see the products, even though I've got a massive screen here. You can see here all of these products are not properly showing. So in e-commerce, we need to make sure that we bring the products up the top so that users can see them and start shopping immediately. So don't obstruct the reason why the user came here, and help them to shop your site in a quick way. Other things I would recommend is move this icon at the top into here. So make this a kind of call out. Probably then move the logo all the way to the left side. Again, saving a bit of space. Now this space we're also saving, and then we're also making this banner a lot less high. We can see inside of the top banner here that there's a lot of wasted space. This space here and that space over there is basically insignificant, and that should be fixed as well. And now we would end up in a situation where we could really nicely see all of the most important products. And they do look quite nice, the way that they've pictured them. I love the background. It's subtle, like that they have the prices here. It'd be better if they had reviews as well for them, or maybe a view counter could be nice as well. This could give the user an idea, what are the most popular things, even though reviews might be not as common in this industry, but just showing, hey, this one has been viewed 10,000 times, could be a cool way for users to see the popular items. Sort by price. High to low. Yep. Okay. Sort by price doesn't make any sense here because everything's the same. Filters. Okay, no filters here. I guess there's only 8 products in the category, so can't really use filters, but overall they do look clean the way that they've created them. I like it better if the filters are fully laid out already. So meaning that you can see each filter here. It just makes it a lot more likely that users will click them rather than have to go through multiple steps. But overall, a couple of positives with nice product images, very clean boxes for each product. I give this maybe a 5 out of 10. Because we can't see the product straight away when we are starting to shop. Showing these filter options and price options when on pages where they don't make sense, it would also be best to just pay a developer manually, say to him, find all the pages where basically when you click on filter, there's nothing that you can do, and click on price, then just hide those, right? Don't give the user options that don't make any sense. That kind of results in what we call dead clicks or rage clicks, where it kind of annoys the user. Once you've wasted a lot of your energy clicking on stuff that doesn't do anything, it's not a good user experience. Makes the purchase less likely. And so this was a teardown of the most successful e-commerce websites in the USA in the outdoor furniture and diamond industry. I hope you found this video helpful and learned something. Leave a like and a comment below, and perhaps subscribe as well if you feel like it. Appreciate your support, and I will see you in the next video.